Welcome to chapter 4. I wanted to go over briefly something about chapter 3 Genesis. There's no theory of original sin in Genesis, is what scholars are telling us. Original sin is the idea that there's somehow, because of the actions of Adam and Eve, that human nature has become fundamentally depraved, fundamentally sinful. There's something wrong with human nature that needs to be fixed, that needs this external grace to come in to remedy it. Uh, this idea is not in Genesis as I see it. The idea of original sin developed more after the year 300, mostly in the Christian tradition. Um, Yet, in spite of that, I think the book of Genesis is saying that there is a problem in general with human actions. People are capable of disobeying God's laws. Uh, like, as in the case with Eve, she saw something that was good for fruit and good for the eyes and was tempted into doing something, tempted to be like God. So there is something Genesis is telling us about human nature, but it's not the idea that human nature is fundamentally depraved. In chapter 4, we deal with the killing of Abel by Cain. Cain killed Abel. And in the first verse, we read, "Now the man knew his wife, Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain." And the name of Cain is explained. I want to focus here on the verb to know, which in this case means marital relations. And we read what sets up the first death of a human being, the first murder. "In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel for his part brought the firstlings of the flock, their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard." So Abel brings the best, um, the firstlings of his flock and their fat portions, so the richest portions. And for whatever reason, God does not um, like Cain's offering. And Cain gets very angry. So the text says angry. And I think there's something profound here. This sense of anger that's going to lead to murder, it comes from a sense that your offering to God is not welcome, is not accepted. So somehow the universe or God has rejected you, and you may not have brought your best to begin with, but you feel rejected, you feel entitled. The universe has rejected you, so you are entitled now to murder, to get, to acquire. And that's in fact what Cain's name means, to get, to acquire. So he's angry. And so the biblical tradition is telling us, I think, that anger is a problem, as we all know, and the sense that the divine graces, the universe as a whole, has it in for us is a very dangerous idea. In this chapter, we have yet another change in the name for the divine. Here we see in verse 9, "Then the Lord, then Yahweh, said to Cain, 'Where is your brother Abel?' He said, 'I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?' And the Lord said, 'What have you done?'" One of the great things about the book of Genesis is that Yahweh, or God, asks questions of people. And these are very telling questions. Where are you? What have you done? Where is your brother? These, I think, have universal application, not just in the context of the story, but as spiritual questions, as questions that ask us, where are we in our life? So yet again, there's a change in the name of God. In the first chapter of Genesis, we saw it was Elohim. In the second chapter, Elohim Yahweh. It looks like the original was Yahweh, and they added Elohim to sort of make it more consistent with the first chapter. But now we have just Yahweh. The Lord is often what is translated in English as for Yahweh. And as I've mentioned, I don't think that's a great translation. It's a terrible translation for the reasons we've already noted. Yahweh is a proper name of the tribal God, of the national God, and the Lord is more of an abstract idea of a feudal ruler. And that's not in the text. The word Lord is not in the text. It's the proper name Yahweh. Another question is, who is this Yahweh here in this story? When Yahweh asks, "Where is your brother?" is Yahweh asking a question for which he does not know the answer? Or is it just rhetorical? Does Yahweh actually hear the blood crying out and not know where Abel is? These are questions that are unanswered in the text. One biblical scholar suggests that Yahweh here may have a lot of knowledge, may have a lot of power, but is not the omniscient, all-powerful God of the later tradition. Perhaps this is a very old version of Yahweh, who is a God who has partial knowledge. And when he asks Cain these questions, he perhaps doesn't really know. That's unclear from the text, but I just leave it as a question. So the Old Testament is such a rich reservoir of literature and a portrayal of human nature. We see that in verse 23. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. I've killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 77-fold. This is really a mean guy, and the tradition is really telling us that there are some mean characters out there. We thought Cain was bad for killing his brother. Now we have a character like Lamech. So the biblical tradition is very good at portraying the various aspects of human nature. And here we get, I don't know, the first mass murder, someone who murders without really much thought and brags about it. This again is the rich characterization of both good and evil in the Hebrew Scriptures. And now to the last verse. At that time, people began to invoke the name of Yahweh. Now it's translated the Lord in many English texts, but this statement is that at this time, people began to use the name Yahweh. And this is a very important verse, just one verse, because later on we're going to see that the name Yahweh is revealed to Moses. But here we are well before Moses, and the name Yahweh is being used.